Going to be pretty interesting this week. Kind of anxiously waiting if we're going to get a license to go to the Indian River.
The government shut Tony Beets down the second his wash plant finally roared back to life, turning months of sweat into a dead end. No warning, no mercy, just silence, rust, and wasted gold. While Tony's season crumbled, Parker Schnable struck rich, pulling over 7,000 ounces from fresh dirt and building a gold empire in real time. Tune in as Kevin Beets makes a move so bold it could erase the Beets name from the Klondike forever. The 1 acre mistake. Turns out that water license he thought was good for 15 acres, it only covered one single acre. That meant weeks of planning, thousands in fuel, endless hours of digging, all wasted. Inspectors didn't blink, shut it down, hard. And just like that, Tony's season flipped from big dreams to red tape nightmares. Crews sat idle, morale tanked. The wash plant still in pieces, and the clock ticking non-stop. But what none of them knew, not even Tony, was that the real disaster hadn't hit yet. Indian River was already a mess before the shutdown. Flooded ground made everything slippery and slow. Broken equipment sat half buried in muck. The massive wash plant hadn't run in nearly 5 years. It needed more than a tune-up. It needed resurrection. They dragged out rusted parts, fought with stripped bolts, pieced together a rickety puzzle of dented steel and cracked hoses. Even after weeks of blood, busted knuckles, and sleepless nights, the plant was shaky. Nothing fit right. Spray bars clogged up, conveyor belts slipped loose, pumps sputtered and died. Every fix kicked up a new problem. Tony barked, crew groaned. Tempers climbed like steam from a busted radiator. Then, just when the plant finally roared to life with a shaky clatter, inspectors again. One look and they pulled the plug. No license, no water, no gold. That was it. Tony had nothing. No claim, no cleanup, just bills stacked like cordwood and a crew staring at mud. Paradise Hill was the last chance left, but that spot had sat cold for over a month. Roads were half washed out, machines were rusting, time was running out fast. Meanwhile, Parker's camp told a different story. The guy was printing gold. His machines ran smooth as glass. His crew moved like they trained for the job since childhood. Every decision was mapped out. No chaos, no guessing, just clean work. While Tony wrestled mud and paperwork, Parker kept digging straight into rich dirt. His wash plants didn't hiccup. His maps hit gold. His team ran tight. Cleanup after cleanup, Parker kept pulling more gold out of the ground. While Tony begged for parts and fought rusted bolts, Parker kept making history. Tony's season turned into a warning. Old gear, old habits, and a mountain of bad timing. Indian River drained him. Paradise Hill looked more like a last shot than a backup. Even there, things went sideways fast. Water turned into a daily disaster. Pumps broke down. Hoses tore loose. Trucks got stuck in muck. Spare parts went missing. The few pieces they found didn't fit. When they finally stitched together a working setup, the gold came slow. Trickles, not floods. Tony had bet the house, but the dirt didn't deliver. The shutdown didn't just cost gold, it cracked his whole team. Long hours, short tempers, weeks dragged, equipment kept breaking, cleanups came up short, one after another. At the same time, Parker's crew moved like a clock. No waste, no wild guesses. Drones scanned the land. Soil reports told them exactly where to dig. Strategy met skill every hour of every day. Parker wasn't chasing luck, he was working a system. His wash plants didn't rattle, his numbers didn't dip. His crew stayed sharp and focused. While Tony fought just to keep his generator humming, Parker kept turning dirt into gold. Every mistake Tony made showed up bigger when Parker kept hitting targets. As snow rolled in and the season closed, the gap widened. One team limped to the end, dragging rust and debt. The other glided past, counting ounces by the hundreds. Tony's money was gone. His chances were thinner than old brake pads. Suppliers stopped answering the phone. Winter didn't bring rest. It brought more stress. Tony faced unpaid bills, broken equipment, and a pile of favors owed to friends and crews. The gold wasn't just short, it was gone. And folks wanted payback. Over at Parker's, it was a different world. No stress, just planning. New rigs were ordered, smarter setups were built, faster cleanup systems were laid out. The operation didn't stop, It evolved. Consultants dove into every detail. Where the fuel went, where the gold came from, what worked and what didn't. They broke it all down. Machines were rebuilt with better hydraulics. Dirt paths got rerouted for cleaner hauls. Every piece of the puzzle got tuned. He spent hours hunting new land. Not just more dirt, smart dirt, ground that glittered under the right scan. He logged hundreds of miles in the off-season, studying layers and checking samples. If one site failed, another could carry the load. Spring crawled in with 2 stories unfolding. One miner tried to claw back from collapse. His gear barely held together. His budget was tighter than a vice. His crew looked worn and cold. Inspectors would return, and they weren't known for second chances. The other miner stood ready. Shiny gear, solid plans, claims locked and loaded. Parker's crew was fresh and focused. Every part of the machine clicked into place. They weren't just ready to dig, they were ready to dominate. This wasn't a story about luck, it was a hard lesson in planning, in systems, in having the right tools for the right dirt. Tony kept trying to muscle his way through with old tricks and beat up steel. Parker built something better, not flashier, just smarter. The Klondike didn't care who deserved to win, it only paid out to the ones who stayed ahead of the grind. As the ice melted, crews rolled out, but only one camp looked like it belonged there. Right when Tony's season bottomed out, a move inside his own family made it worse. Gold, blood, and the Beets divide. When a family like the Beets splits, it is not over spilled coffee. It is over control, pride, and mountains of gold. One bold move cracked everything open. Kevin Beets, the oldest son, walked off his father's land and joined the one miner Tony Beets could never tolerate. That single choice wrecked the family chain. Years of sweat and iron got left behind in the dust. Tony Beets carved out his empire by yelling louder, digging harder, and never quitting. With long blonde hair and a no-nonsense face, he became the king of rough mining. His kids learned early, no cartoons, no soft hands, just grease, noise, and rocks. Kevin was firstborn, the one everyone figured would wear the crown. But the mining world does not care what people expect. Underneath all the gold dust, things were tense. Kevin was wired different. He liked control, he liked numbers, he liked making things better with smarts, not just muscle. His dad, on the other hand, pushed old-school rules. More dirt, bigger machines, less talk. The fight started small, a drill setting, a haul truck. Over time, it got worse. Kevin had ideas, but Tony had the final word, and that word came out loud and sharp. Storms hit. Equipment failed. The claim bled money. Tony cracked down, pushing the crew harder. Kevin watched his thoughts pile up behind gritted teeth. Across the claim, Parker Schnabel's crew was flying. Less shouting, more progress, new tools, better timing, fewer breakdowns. Kevin paid attention. Then he walked. One day, Kevin packed up. No warning, no discussion, just gone. He joined Parker's crew, stepped right into a rival camp, and shut the door behind him. That kind of move, that is not a job change, that is a declaration. It rang out like a shot across the valley. Tony tried to act fine. He brushed it off, kept his voice steady, kept the machines running. But everybody saw it. The way he looked at the empty seat, the way he slammed the door on the excavator. This was not business. This was personal. Years of raising a miner, of welding and working side by side, all gone in one quiet exit. Kevin clicked into Parker's system like he belonged there from day one. No shouting over wrenches, no throwing gloves. Parker let him tinker, let him tweak. Kevin brought in new tools, new routines, and the crew moved faster. Clean gold totals jumped up. That claim started humming. Kevin did not just change jobs, he changed the game. Back at Paradise Hill, things got weird. Monica stayed loyal. Mike kept running trucks. But that Beets bond, it cracked. Monica could not hide the sting. Mike kept his head down, but the silence said enough. Family dinners turned cold. No jokes, no smiles, just tension. Across the mining world, people picked sides. Some nodded in respect, said Kevin did what needed doing. Others called it disloyal, called it a cheap move. Whispers flew. Was it about money? About ego? About escape? Nobody knew for sure, but everyone had an opinion. Kevin left more than a crew. He left a legacy. He left Tony's world behind, a world he had spent 2 decades inside. He wanted more than to keep his father's seat warm. He wanted his own chair. And Parker? He saw what it meant. Bringing Kevin on was not just about skill. It was a shot straight at Tony, one that hit deep. The new duo took off. Each gold haul proved the move worked. Parker gave Kevin room to lead. Kevin gave Parker an edge. Together they tore through targets. The dirt told the truth. Numbers rose. Mistakes dropped. Their operation tightened up fast. Tony pushed harder. More hours, bigger machines, tougher jobs. He had to prove something now. Every season became a showdown. Every weigh-in became a scoreboard. Fans leaned in, measuring every ounce. This was more than gold. It was pride. Kevin had more than brains. He had skill. Raised in the noise of loaders and dozers, he learned early how to fix what broke. Welding torches, fuel lines, engine blocks. He made broken things run. Then he added college. Took courses in computers and leadership. Came back with more than just calluses. Came back with ideas. But the old ways did not leave room for them. In Parker's world, those ideas became plans. His designs sped things up. His methods cut waste. His crew hit gold faster. Less downtime. More safety. Fewer blowouts. The dirt kept flowing. This was not the first time Gold Rush turned into a boxing ring. The Hoffman crew back in the early days? Chaos. People yelling. People swinging. Equipment breaking every other minute. Jim Dorsey and Greg Remsburg clashed until fists flew. Dorsey got tossed out and his cabin got flattened. No quiet goodbyes there. Later, Dave Turin walked away too. His team cracked under the weight of bad deals and uneven success. When he left, it marked the end of that group. Even Dakota Fred stirred things up, clashing with James Harness and shoving the crew into chaos. The Beets family collapse fit right in. Years of working elbow to elbow can create strength, or it can turn into a ticking bomb. This bomb finally went off, and everyone heard it. Tony kept working, more dirt, more steel. But the air changed, the crew felt it. The one who knew the system inside and out was gone. Kevin had been the grease in the gears. Now those gears were grinding. Kevin, meanwhile, found his rhythm. With Parker, he tested new tools, changed dig angles, adjusted wash plant timing. Every change bought more gold, less waste. His experience fit Parker's future-facing style. They did not just mine smarter, they mined cleaner, faster, better. Kevin's move wasn't the end. Parker was just getting started. The pit that paid back. Ever seen a muddy pit and thought, this is where the big money's hiding? No? Well, maybe you should. Parker did just that, turned that thought into action, and now everybody's watching. He went from digging around in the cold to hauling in enough gold to make headlines. Not guesses, real numbers. More than 7,300 ounces. That's what came out of the ground after months of chaos, stress, and pushing through every bit of trouble that got in the way. That was not the goal. The target had been 5,000. Beating it by over 2,000? That is a whole different level. This wasn't a quick payday. It wasn't some shiny metal falling into his lap. It was endless work, non-stop problems, and still he managed to run things like a pro. He kept the gear moving, kept the people focused, and made calls that paid off. Digging through frozen dirt with busted machines is not a dream. It's a grind, and that grind brought in a record-breaking haul. Let's walk through the details. First, the equipment. Big rigs, massive wash plants, miles of hoses, piles of spare parts, fuel tanks, generators, and more moving parts than a steel mill. Every single one of those things can snap, leak, clog, or freeze. And when they do, it stops everything. You are dead in the water until it's fixed. But the crew didn't stop. They fixed it, over and over again. This kind of season needs timing. It needs every truck to be where it's supposed to be. Every ounce of dirt needs to move. Nothing can sit still. The wash plants have to keep running. Water needs to flow constantly. When the water froze, they thawed it. When belts snapped, they replaced them. Every part failure meant someone jumped in the mud and made it right. Now don't forget the gold market. That helped. The price stayed high all season. That made every ounce worth even more. At the same time, fuel stayed low. That cut costs. But here's the trick. Even with those breaks, you have to know how to take advantage. That means running lean, keeping waste down, making smart calls. He did. Then there's the land. This was not an old claim. This was new dirt, unproven ground. But he took the risk, bought the land, and went after it. Most people get scared when things are unknown. He didn't flinch. He poured cash into it, brought in new equipment, hired more hands, and bet everything on making it pay off. And it did. Weather played its part too. Rain turned roads into slop. Cold turned water lines into ice. Snow covered everything in white and brought work to a crawl. When visibility dropped and everything got slick, the crew just worked slower, longer, and smarter. They kept things running when most would have packed it in. Then came the setbacks. Belts tore, bearings failed, motors burned out. Every time they fixed one thing, something else broke. But instead of losing days, they shaved it down to hours, sometimes minutes. That kind of speed comes from practice, and they had plenty. You think leadership is just barking orders? Think again. This kind of win takes a crew that believes in the work. It takes people who will fight through knee-deep mud and freezing wind because they trust the plan. That kind of loyalty doesn't come from luck. It comes from someone who proves day after day that they won't back down. This wasn't the first time he mined gold, but it was the biggest, by far. He had to make every part of his operation faster, cleaner, and tougher. From start to finish, they moved more dirt than ever. They processed it quicker, and they found more gold per load. And once the count came in, over 7,300 ounces. That's not a guess. That's measured, counted, melted into bars, and locked away. That amount is more than just a number. It's what happens when everything lines up: the land, the gear, the crew, and the leadership. But there's a twist. The gold pulled from the ground wasn't average. It was high purity. That makes it even more valuable, but it also makes things more dangerous. Now you're not just digging, you're guarding. Security had to be tightened. No slip-ups. Every nugget became a target. People started snooping. Rivals showed up. Strangers asked too many questions. They had to shut that down. More cameras, more guards, fewer loose ends. The site turned from a dig zone into a fortress. Then came the rules. You dig that deep, you better believe someone wants to know how. Inspectors showed up. Reports needed to be filed, water tested, air checked, wildlife counted, permits reviewed. Everything tracked. It wasn't enough to get the gold. They had to prove they weren't wrecking the land doing it. Even with all that heat, they kept pushing. Because stopping? Not an option. This kind of haul doesn't just make headlines, it shifts the game. Other miners started copying. They staked new ground, ordered better gear, and tried to follow the trail. Some got lucky, most didn't. What's wild is this miner started out as a kid just learning the ropes. Now, he's running one of the most efficient operations in the field. The gold came fast, the machines ran strong. The mistakes turned into lessons. The wins stacked up. Behind the scenes, the logistics were a nightmare. Fuel had to be hauled in every day. Parts shipped in from hundreds of miles away. Crews rotated in shifts working around the clock. Everyone had to be ready, rested, and sharp. One slow loader or late fuel truck could throw the whole day off. If this one miner could change the whole game, what's stopping the rest? Smash that like, drop your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe.